All right, let's talk about one of the most incredible stories you've maybe never heard. It's a story of revolution, of radical forgiveness, and ultimately of a heartbreaking betrayal. And it really did help shape our modern world, all centered around this one extraordinary man, Toussaint Louverture.
So our story really starts here, on the island that would one day be known as Haiti. And when Christopher Columbus shows up, his own journal tells you everything you need to know. He's not there to explore, he's there to conquer. That one thought right there is about to unleash centuries of just unimaginable horror.
And that mindset, well, it completely transformed the island. The French called it Saint-Domingue, and it became the single most profitable, and I mean the absolute most brutal colony on the face of the earth, all of it built on sugar and coffee.
Now, we need to be really clear. This wasn't like the slavery you might read about in ancient history. The system in Saint-Domingue was a new kind of awful. One historian called it capitalism set ablaze. And that's exactly what it was. A machine designed to literally work people to death and then just replace them. It was pure, calculated cruelty, all for profit.
And just look at the society this created. I mean, the imbalance is staggering. You have 500,000 enslaved people at the bottom, creating all the wealth for a tiny, tiny group of colonists at the top. This wasn't a society. It was a powder keg just waiting for a spark. And right in the middle of all this, our hero emerges. And Toussaint Louverture he's not what you'd expect. He's in his late 40s, and get this, he'd already been a free man himself for almost 20 years before the revolution even kicked off. So, when that powder keg finally explodes in 1791, and you have 500,000 people rising up against their tormentors, what do you think Toussaint does first? Does he grab his sword? Does he go looking for revenge?
Nope, not even close. His first move was an act of mercy so profound it's almost hard to believe. He put his own life on the line to save the very man who used to own him. That one act, right there, tells you everything about the kind of leader this man was going to be.
And that instinct, it wasn't just some personal quirk. As Toussaint rises through the ranks, from a rebel leader to a general to the governor of the whole colony, he turns that incredible sense of mercy into a practical strategy for building a brand new country out of the rubble.
His economic plan was just genius. He knew that for the colony to survive, he needed the know-how of the white planters. So he offers them a deal. He says, look, slavery is over. The whip is banned. And from now on, your workers get a quarter of all the profits. In return, you stay and you help us rebuild. Absolutely brilliant.
And this wasn't a one-off. He was constantly forgiving his rivals, even other black generals who'd fought against him. He just pardoned them and absorbed their armies right into his own. He even argued with the French government to let former slave owners come back. His whole philosophy was simple. The future is way too important to let it be destroyed by the past.
But while Toussaint is trying to build this new future based on forgiveness, a new force is rising back in France, and he has a very, very different vision for the world. His name, Napoleon Bonaparte.
You could just see this collision coming, couldn't you? Toussaint imagined this amazing, multiracial society, working together as part of the French Republic. Napoleon? All he saw were profits, power, and the need to restore white supremacy. He wanted that sugar money back, and he didn't care what it took to get it.
So, Napoleon sends an invasion fleet. And listen, we're not talking about just any army. He sent 20,000 of his best soldiers. These are the same guys who would go on to conquer most of Europe. Their mission was crystal clear: crush Toussaint, arrest all the black leaders, and bring slavery back. Now, Toussaint was a military genius. He'd already defeated the Spanish and the British. He'd won a brutal civil war. But now, he was about to make a catastrophic mistake. And the tragedy is, it was a mistake born from his greatest strength, his faith in other people. Toussaint just could not bring himself to believe that France, the nation of liberty, equality, fraternity, would so completely stab its own revolution in the back. He trusted them, so when he saw the French ships coming, instead of attacking them on the beaches, he tried to negotiate. And that trust, it was his undoing. He was tricked. He agreed to surrender under the promise of peace. They invited him to dinner, and then they arrested him. They threw him on a ship, sent him to a freezing prison cell high up in the French mountains, and just left him to die of starvation and neglect. It was such a cruel, brutal end for such a visionary.
So what happened after Napoleon got his man? What happened to Toussaint's dream of a prosperous, multiracial nation built on the idea of forgiveness? Well, let's just say the French army was about to find out they'd made a terrible, terrible mistake.
Toussaint's armies fought like lions, no question. But the thing that ultimately defeated Napoleon's elite troops wasn't a sword or a cannon. It was an insect. Yellow fever absolutely ripped through the European soldiers, killing thousands upon thousands, including their own commander.
But here's the real tragedy. With Toussaint gone, his vision of forgiveness died right there with him. His successor, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, he saw the French treachery for what it was, and he chose a different path. He chose vengeance. He drove the French out, yes, but then he ordered the massacre of the entire remaining white population, which plunged the new nation of Haiti into decades of isolation and poverty.
You know, as they were dragging him onto that ship to France, Toussaint said those words. And he was right. Haiti would become independent. It became the first free black republic in the world. But the peaceful, prosperous, reconciled nation he dreamed of, that was lost forever, replaced by the very cycle of violence he had fought so hard to end.
And all this really leaves us with one last big question. Toussaint Louverture offered the world a different way forward, a path of grace in the face of just unspeakable cruelty. His dream was shattered by greed and by racism. And when you look at the tragic history of Haiti, right up to this very day, you have to ask yourself, what is the true, lasting price of destroying a dream like his?